All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you for joining this joint live LebNet webinar on Lebanon's untapped outsourcing potential, challenges, and solutions. We have an outstanding panel of experts who are at the forefront of the outsourcing ecosystem, with firsthand insight into the policy issues, the evolving nature of outsourcing, the talent pool, and the range of challenges they face operating in Lebanon. My name is Ronnie Hamad. I'm the chair of the Advocate Committee of Life, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. I'll be making some opening remarks, introduce the panelists, get the conversation going, and then open it up to your questions and comments. We will have 75 minutes for this conversation. Life is a membership organization of Lebanese in the diaspora who work in finance, law, consulting, and tech. It has 1,400 members spread across 17 chapters around the world, from East Asia, the GCC, Beirut, Europe, and North America. Life's mission is to connect members, support students with scholarships, mentorships, and jobs, promote job creation and entrepreneurship in Lebanon, and advocate for economic and social reform. LebNet, founded in Silicon Valley, likewise is a membership organization of 2,500 plus Lebanese diaspora members in tech across the United States and Canada. The core mission is to empower tech entrepreneurs and professionals to succeed through career coaching, mentorship, and continuing education. LebNet is structured into regional and professional communities with a diverse background ranging from Fortune 500 managers and C-level executives to venture capitalists, startup founders, entrepreneurs, academics, high-tech professionals, consultants, small business owners. 1 year ago, Life organized a distinguished panel of experts and practitioners to better understand the outsourcing landscape in Lebanon. It was eye-opening to learn about the cutting-edge technologies and support that these companies were providing some of the largest companies in Europe, Canada, and the GCC. In 2023, the Boston Consulting Group released a report on the potential outsourcing has on increasing high-paying jobs in Lebanon, slowing down the brain drain, and shedding a spotlight on Beirut Digital District, a mini Silicon Valley in the heart of Beirut. Today, we are not only interested in learning what motivates companies to outsource to Lebanon, what Lebanon has to offer these companies, but what the public policy issues we need to think about to support the sector. Life is recruiting a staff member to explore the role it can play, particularly along the lines of its 4 pillars: business development, talent acquisition and upskilling, matchmaking, and supporting the infrastructure for outsourcing. We'd be very interested to learn your thoughts about this as well. So let's just get started with this conversation. Our first panelist is Mariam Dahir, Executive Director at Forward MENA, focusing on upskilling Lebanese youth for digital careers. With over 20 years of experience in education reform across the Middle East, she specializes in connecting education to employment opportunities. Mariam, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us about Forward MENA and the role it and the Beirut Digital District play in supporting the outsourcing system in Lebanon? And what are some of the kind of market trends that you're seeing happening in this space?
Thank you so much, Roni. It's a pleasure to be joining this panel today and to have this kind of conversation, which we hope at the end of the day will be able to support our young Lebanese people have better earnings and stop, in a way or another, this brain drain. So Forward Digital MENA, or Forward MENA as we always call it, is an education entity which has been founded in the year 2018 from the heart of Beirut Digital District. And I liked how you have described Beirut Digital District, because we like to believe that this is one of the leading business hubs for the digital and creative industries in Lebanon. It kind of offers an optimal business environment, blending value-added services with cutting-edge infrastructure to enhance productivity and support growth. Ever since it has been founded, the Beirut Digital District has now over 3,500 community members coming from over 160 companies across 35 plus industries. And it's a mix between established companies, startups, multinationals, accelerators, incubators, and cultural institutes. Forward MENA is the education arm of Beirut Digital District with one main mission to bridge the gap between the education outcomes and the needs of the labor market. And I'm sure we all know, with the very fast technology advancement and with all the problems that Lebanon has been facing for different reasons, the education gap, or the gap between the education outcomes and the needs of the labor market, has grown a lot. And the education institutions are not capable of really developing at the same pace in order to graduate young people who are capable to really go into the labor market easily, successfully, and efficiently. So this comes the role of Forward MENA and other education institutions in Lebanon that work on upskilling young people, giving them the skills that are needed by the labor market so that they are either able to join the labor market efficiently, or they are able to grow at a pace that is acceptable to the workforce and to the youth themselves. We work very closely with the private sector in Lebanon, in the region, and internationally to really understand what are the most in-demand skills. And based on that, we try to work on developing training programs that are either online, face-to-face, hybrid, so that we can equip the young people with these skills. Our ultimate vision is to really be able to transform Lebanon into a premium outsourcing hub, because we believe there are a lot of areas based on our understanding of the market and based on different research that have looked at the Lebanese ecosystem. There are different areas where Lebanon, and I'm sure we are going to talk a lot during that discussion, where Lebanon can offer talents that are capable of doing remote jobs and serving this outsourcing ecosystem. You asked me a little bit about the trends that we are able to see, and I can confidently say, Roni, that we are able to see trends across the different, from very basic jobs, which are data entry, call center, jobs that are really require minimal digital skills. There's a big opportunity in that area, to the very top tier jobs, such as that require more advanced technical and digital skills, such as app developer, web developers, everything that is related to the cloud environment and development. So the range of opportunities is wide, and it's confidently we can say it can cover from very basic to very advanced areas of opportunities.
And so thank you for that. So how many companies approximately are in the Beirut Digital District, or BDD?
In Beirut Digital
are they mostly digital, or do you have a kind of a description of the types of companies that are mostly hosted there?
Okay, so at the moment, there are around 160 companies in Beirut Digital District, and they cover a big number of industries, more than 35 industries. If I want to really summarize, it's a really good mix between big established companies, between startups, some multinational companies. There are some numbers of accelerators and incubators, and recently there has been more cultural institutes from different entities or international entities that are in Lebanon.
Well, turning to one of the largest, probably, outsourcing companies, I wanted to introduce our next panelist, Carol Sharabati. She's a founding partner at CME Offshore, a software outsourcing company with 400 employees in Lebanon and over 250 worldwide, and is director of research at Sign Analytics, a consulting firm with a not-for-profit branch focused on public sector. Carol is also a professor at the Political Science Institute at San Jose University, USG, and holds a PhD in political science from the Claremont Graduate University. Carol, CME is reputed to be the largest engineering outsourcing company in Lebanon. Can you tell us a little bit more about the projects that they have, what you're working on? How do you do your business development? How do you find your clients? And maybe something about the shifting landscapes?
Yes, Hi, Ronnie. Hi, everyone. So, CME is a company that works for big companies around the world, and about 70% of them are US based, like Subway, like Thomson Reuters, PayPal, Genry. We have clients in the Caribbean, like Digital. We work for Avery Dennison. So CME's clients, it's interesting, have been found from mouth to ear. We have never advertised to get clients. From day one, up till we grew to 650 persons, we never did any advertisement. We started properly business development a year ago. Why? Because now we're starting to have some products and some sectors in which we specialize that we want to push into the market. So, and it's a mouth to ear based on diaspora, on Lebanese people abroad. And this has been the secret actually of our expansion onto the market. Now, another interesting approach for business development is from the Siren end. Siren is a company that works in GovTech, in digital transformation, in public sector reform, security sector reform. Here, we have two approaches. One is to look for RFPs from various donors and write on these RFPs. But the other one is to think about relevant topics and need for reform in different contexts in Lebanon and in the MENA region, and go ourselves to the donor and convince them to invest on supporting these sectors. And here it's understanding the context that have been driving the support from the donors. So this is a bit the story of how we've been moving and finding an expansion. Now, I should tell you that all along, we feel that the market is big. The opportunities are enormous. There's plenty of work out there. Everybody wants to digitize. Everybody wants to do data-driven decision. Everybody wants to move to the next level and optimize and cut cost and increase performance. And the Lebanese market is very small. We have a very small pool of talent compared to India, to other countries where there are huge pools of talent. And the way we've been positioning ourselves is not by providing cheap labor, but by providing talented people who have critical thinking, who have, like Mariam was saying, premium outsourcing, that are premium outsourcing destination. So we have a talent that not just provide coding capacity, it provides good thinking, good conceiving, good innovation, good R&D. We have registered more than 8 patents in the US. So we innovate for our client. We develop hardware, software for them that they can patent and they can develop their products on them. So this is also another secret element of this recipe that makes us succeed.
Yeah. Just quickly, I was fascinated by what you were saying in terms of not just the premium outsourcing, but I think that you're starting to move towards providing a series of services. So beyond just the consulting and having a contract to do it, can you talk a little bit about what do you mean by these services as and then give us an example of that?
So we have a client, we had one actually not too long ago from the UK, who came, who had just acquired a big digital firm, and he wanted to optimize the cost of this company. And he came to us because he wanted some expertise that helped him optimize and find the bottlenecks. Why is his digital team producing slowly or being expensive? So we did an assessment and we did the due diligence and provide him all the advice to cut his cost, optimize the way he's managing the implementation, the connection between the product team and the engineering team, the whole technology, and why is the technology becoming heavy and not easily expandable. And we even help him think about starting to bring AI into his development capability so that he can speed up. Now, when he saw this, he said, okay, great, now you're helping me optimize. You know what? I would like to outsource 20% of my team to your company so that I keep my team on their toes and there is another team somewhere else that's developing. And so there is a dynamic of competition between them. And we keep this dynamic of always reviewing our processes and performance to always get better. So this is also a good example that shows you that we're not just cheap labor. We are optimization, innovation, enhancement, consultancy for our clients. We help them reach their best level in their performance.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I just wanted to say that we're starting to see some Q&A questions come in, and I will address those in a couple of minutes, but just keep them coming. I wanted to introduce Hala. Welcome to the webinar. Hala Balouz is as the CEO and president of Electric Power Engineers. Hala built a rapidly growing team of 225 systems engineers in a global firm that employs over 300 people, with a singular focus of transforming the electric grid to enable delivery of reliable, affordable, sustainable, clean energy. Her firm provides consulting and software services to utilities, as well as renewable energy developers, wind, solar, storage, and other technologies. Hala holds a Bachelor's of Science and a Master's of Science degree in electrical engineering and is a professional engineer herself. And over the course of her career, has received many technical and business awards. She's particularly proud of also being the recipient of the Women in Power Award as an ardent supporter of empowering women in energy. Hala, thank you for joining us. Hala, I know you're based in Austin, Texas, and that's where most of your clients and staff are. And I understand that you have over 50 staff outsourced to Lebanon. Can you share kind of what made you decide to recruit in Lebanon and the profile of the staff that you've recruited and what roles maybe they play in the company?
Absolutely. First, thank you for inviting me. Great panel here. I'm a very ardent supporter of being present in Lebanon. Very proud to have almost 1/3, like 45 of our power systems engineer are very highly technical staff that really deliver value to our clients in Lebanon. And I would love to continue that ratio. It's a good ratio to have. Our firm is focused on the energy industry, as you know. Power system engineers are very important for that role. That's why you see 225 power systems engineers out of 300. So we're very highly technical. I have to echo what my colleague said and also emphasize that this is not just an entry labor job. This is an essential job, a power systems engineer with a degree and a lot of knowledge. I'd like to add some flavor to what we're saying. I started really early doing that in the 1990s. I personally worked in Lebanon remotely for a few years and needed help as working for a small company and hired somebody in Lebanon. I split my salary in half with that person. They were from the American University of Beirut and was of course new, but was very pleased with the kind of help that person could provide. And that grew organically and naturally very, very early when working remote and offshoring wasn't even a possibility. And that really led itself to build a team over there in Lebanon that's really essential to the business. They're not, as I heard before, they're not really inexpensive labor. You can find power systems engineers in other countries that are less expensive, if that's the goal. But it's really the quality of the engineers we get. It's their business acumen, their ability. So it's the quality of the engineers, their business acumen, and their ability to speak multiple languages. English is they're fluent, even if they're educated in base French and Arabic. They also interact very nicely with our clients. And what we do and our business model is really, they are no different than the team here in the US, they have career path with a company. That's why they joined, because they want to stay with a company forever, and we select them this way. And then they also come to the US when they're ready. They interact with the clients. I have some clients here in the US and worldwide that specifically say, I want to talk to X person. I don't want to talk to anybody else in your company. And these people are in the Beirut office. So I'm very proud of what we built, and hope to continue to build that in the years to come. Our business is global. We have actually only also 1/3 of our employees in Austin. Think about that, a little over 1/3, in Austin, 1/3 in Lebanon, and the rest global. So I'm very proud of that. I do see, and I hear from our office in Beirut with our managers there, that there is what we're calling here brain drain, and we're really not happy to see that. We don't want to see these extremely skilled and capable people leave. I would like to say that as we know, we do believe hopefully this is a transition period, and I hope together we can do something to reach out through, Miriam and Carol and the rest of the people here, work together to reach out to universities and other people and let them know that we are here to ride through this.
Yeah. Well, Hala, I can't let you go without asking you, I mean, given the electricity crisis in Lebanon, how can we get, electric power engineers to, upgrade our grid and get electricity but back moving in the country? I mean, not only do we need to outsource, I mean, we need to bring in expertise like yours to really help with this, disaster that we have with regard to the electricity sector. So it's really.
You can't speak about that without getting into politics, so no politics here. But this is what I do for a living. I wish and hope that I can help in Lebanon, like we help countries. We've helped in the Caribbean. We consult people in Brazil, in Australia, and here in the US, across every state. As we know in economics and technology and what have you, you've got to have a stable environment to work through that. But I have a bright future in mind, and actually I've discussed that with our employees, even with my own grown children who actually have relocated to Lebanon, believe it or not, which is good news. The fact that Lebanon is on a track in a changing energy infrastructure to actually be able to lead. So I hope if the environment presents itself, we're going more from a macro systems to micro systems, where it's something that developing countries are good at, and Lebanon was very good at creating the infrastructure. Now with solar batteries, other forms of technologies, including optimizing energy use and AI, I believe we have an opportunity to build a very resilient and sustainable energy infrastructure. And the people ourselves, the people there in Lebanon, including myself at my home there, I see, and our employees, I see we're building that. In fact, we discussed that earlier, Ronnie. We at EPE, we early on, once the energy crisis was at its worst, a few months or a year or two ago, I don't quite remember. It's always ongoing. We told our employees we'll provide aid in support of them having their homes, their grandfather's home, maybe in a village or anywhere, if they want to put solar panels and batteries on top of it, to be resilient, so that if things weren't really were difficult.
We're going to get to that. Actually, I'm going to, as soon as I talk to Nabil a little bit, but I'm going to talk about
you want to come back to that.
How you manage with some of the limitations you have around to electricity and internet and other stuff, and we'll get to that in a minute.
But that's the future, indeed. It is the future of the energy industry, not just the Lebanese industry.
So I wanted to introduce Nabil. Nabil Mardelli is a country manager at Aspire Software in Lebanon. The operational arm of Valsoft. Nabil leads the company's rapid growth, expanding to 100 employees in under a year, with the aim of doubling that by the end of 2024. With over 20 years of global tech experience, his current role is creating, expanding, developing, and running the operation in Lebanon. Prior to this, he worked for over 20 years at Ericsson across 3 continents, filling different operational roles in support, implementation, and service delivery. Nabil, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit more about Aspire, what it does, the companies it serves, and what made you move to Lebanon after living in Canada for 37 years?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ronnie, and Life and LebNet for inviting me to present Aspire Software. Basically, Aspire Software, as you mentioned earlier, is the operational arm of Valsoft. Now, Valsoft is our mother company and was established in 2015 in Montreal, Canada, and is specialized in the acquisition and development of vertical market software businesses. It currently owns more than 90 software companies, covers more than 20 verticals, and employs more than 3,000 employees. Aspire mission is to nurture, enhance, and grow the acquired companies by running the operation in a decentralized fashion. At Aspire, we believe that decentralization is the key to unlocking the true potential of an organization. So when decision-making is distributed among empowered individuals, innovation thrives, collaboration soars, and adaptability becomes second nature. And that's in a way the story of Aspire Software in Lebanon and the decision to move back to Beirut by the end of June 2022. I was entrusted and empowered to run and drive the company during a very critical period for the country and the Lebanese alike. Now, since we started our recruitment in September 2022, we managed to grow to roughly 130 employees. And we, as you mentioned earlier, we're targeting 200 by the end of 2024. We hire Lebanese talent to work for our different software companies. That's basically what we do. We hire developers, support, accounting, sales, marketing, database administrator, IT managers, and IT tech. We are focused on our people and their career path. And as such, we understand that our success as a company is measured by the success of everyone in our work family.
Great.
We want to attract our subsidiaries because we strive to be the best and can and will exceed their expectation. It's not about cost.
Yeah.
Okay, there are cheaper places than Lebanon. Trust me, there are. As Lebanese, our resilience, troubleshooting skills, sense of ownership, survival mindset, education, and technical knowledge are our strength. And we urgently need to add to them the ability to focus on the future and dream big. The career path to success is mastering AI technology right now. And at Aspire, we achieved the challenge to have all our developers certified on AI. And currently 10% of them are working on such projects. As Carol mentioned earlier, we as Lebanese can lead in the innovation and technology arena. And if we put our mind into it, understand teamwork, no one can stop us from becoming leaders in that field. The rest are just details.
Okay. Thank you, Nabil. I wanted to build on a question from an anonymous attendee and link it to the kind of talk about the talent and the skilling, recruitment of talent, upskilling of talent, and how do you kind of think about finding them and maybe nurturing them and having them think about a career. So one of the questions was, how does Forward MENA target Lebanese citizens outside of the Beirut district, or is it limited to the Beirut district? And so maybe I just wondered if you can maybe touch on these other questions about, where do we find talent? Is it just the universities, or do we recruit maybe even Lebanese outside of Lebanon?
Yeah, so thank you for the person who has asked this question, because I would like to emphasize a lot that though we are based in BDD, our mandate is totally outside BDD, outside Beirut, and we try as much as possible to be able to offer our services all over Lebanon. The main target audience that we work with, Roni, is the university graduates. And that's why we built as much as possible relationship with all universities. And when I say with all universities, I would like to mention that we don't only work with the top tier universities, we really work with all universities and the colleges and the vocational institutions. Universities is not only the main area where we get students from, it's also by working with the different upskilling organizations that are in Lebanon and that have grown at the moment, taking into consideration the situation. So we try to work with all these organizations where they have worked with some youth who have graduated from universities, have taken some boot camps in certain skill or certain area, and it's now about building more skills or elevating the areas that they have worked in, so that we try to, as much as possible, complement the work of each other so we can support these young people as much as possible. So I would say the universities and the colleges are the main area where we get students from. However, there's a lot of work that is everybody in Lebanon, all the upskilling organizations, and it has been very tangible over the last few years how the upskilling organizations have come together to work together, not to compete against each other, but rather to complement each other work so that we can bring more skills to the youth, to the young people.
Yeah.
I think that's how we see it with the talent in Lebanon.
Yeah. I wonder if Carol, Hala, Nabil, quickly, just to kind of share with us where you find your talent, where do you recruit, what are you looking for, and how do you kind of keep up to date kind of with the latest kind of technology and trends? Carol, maybe we'll start with you. You're on mute.
Yeah, so one approach to recruit the talent is to nurture young talent, and this has been something we've started from the beginning. So it took us some time to have seniority on the team because we relied a lot on this approach. So we have internship programs, and we take a large number of interns, 30, 40, 50 sometimes in the summer, and we put them on real projects and put them on real missions. And now we're having to do more and more this in sectors and specialties where we're not finding experienced people, like in AI or in DevOps or in other. So these interns, they come, they work with us, they do an internship, and then at the end of the internship, many of them apply for a job. They like the company, the culture, and they stay. This has been a very successful initiative. And some people start with an internship and end up staying with us 10 and 15 years and becoming the pillar of the company. Now, besides that, there is a clear advertisement around the universities. We have activities with the universities. We pitch projects in master programs for graduating universities. And we provide the technical support. We define the projects, we provide the technical support, and they develop the project in collaboration in CME. So here also, through this collaboration, we win sometimes some students who end up coming and working with us. Now, for senior talent, clearly you have to look around, you have to do some headhunting. Sometimes there are people who have come back from abroad to come and work in Lebanon, just like there are people who leave and are headhunted by Amazon and Google and travel. There are people who are headhunted, and we have brought people back from Europe and from other countries to come and settle in Lebanon and work in Lebanon. And they're finding some advantages in working in Lebanon, proximity to their family, and a balance of a salary that is not constrained by high expenditure and high taxes, and where they can do a good amount of savings. So there's a good balance also to find on the salary to remain competitive for the clients, but at the same time to put your staff, your team members on a high comfort zone in their revenue.
I see. I wanted to ask, there was a request, Reem Harb, I wondered whether we can have a gallery view. There was a request for people to be able to see all the panelists, if it's possible, as opposed to one, just one request. And there was a related question about, I'll get to that in a minute, but it was about, so I just wanted to get some, maybe Nabil and Hala, how are you recruiting? What are you looking for? And how are you kind of thinking about career paths and so do you also recruit directly from universities or?
Yeah, I'll go. I was thinking about this. So for being a company with a branch in Lebanon, I can tell you for the number of people we've been hiring up to almost this point, it's been mainly just going to universities and word of mouth from current employees to colleagues at universities and working with professors and recruiting. Now that especially being specialized on power systems, where this pool will start getting smaller. So we need more ways to get to people. And we have to start, and we're starting, we now have an HR small department in the Beirut office to start thinking about long-term and short-term. So long-term, we need ways, and we're starting work on that to raise awareness, even in high schools if we can, or early in the college careers, to know that this is available, to actually help people go into power systems. And I have to say, power systems is something not everybody goes into. Now, because of all the AI and the data, massive data, that's why we have software in our business. So now there is need for power systems engineers or coupled and or knowledgeable in AI and software, which is in our business. That's also really good. So we need to work together with universities and other organizations like Miriam, for example, to make the industry aware of that in Lebanon and the young generation. Otherwise, we won't be able to do that, 1/3 ratio that I talked about earlier. So I think we need long-term and as well as short-term solutions for that.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Reem Harb, I wondered whether if we wanted to get participants to ask, to share an insight, would we be able to unmute them? And while maybe you could just send me a message on that. And Nabil, where do you get your talent from and how do you keep them up to speed on the latest software?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have a great recruitment team. That's for sure. And what we do is that we have a database. We build it in, and now we are close to more than 10,000 names in there. And what we do is that depending on the demand that we have, because we have requests sometimes for senior and sometimes for intermediate and sometimes for junior. We're looking at the pool of requests. I would say we have 40% senior, 30% intermediate, and 30% junior. So obviously the junior and intermediate are more like towards the universities, and we are in contact with all of them. As Miriam was saying earlier, we don't only look at the top university, we look at all university. Talent is sometimes hidden in different places. And for the senior, then we go look for LinkedIn and other platforms. And one of the great surprises that we're getting is that we have an internal referral program. So we have our employees referring their friends to come and work with us. And hence this is creating a more camaraderie environment, and people are happier, and we are happy too, because we see the family roots being built up.
Yeah, especially if you're going from 100 to 200 the next year. So yeah, for those looking for jobs outside Aspire Software. I want to bring
Ronnie, one thing Carol said, I forgot to add too, because it's important. The senior, as you start growing your talent employed by you for this offshoring, the senior job positions become a stifling bottleneck to grow your team, because the team needs to have a senior person to recruit entry level from universities. And I agree that also ourselves at EPE, we're looking at, it's not all about, lower cost labor. We want to attract senior talent from UAE and other places worldwide to come back to Lebanon, because there is interest in that. And that will be very essential to be able to recruit more junior talent in Lebanon.
Yeah. I mean, in a very timely way, I wanted to invite Lena Boueri, who is the CEO of Speedlane, who just set up a talent upskilling office in partnership with Forward MENA in BDD. Lena, are you there? I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit about this, and because this is one of the key issues we're thinking about in terms of bringing in this conversation on upskilling. Lena?
Should be able to speak, Ronnie.
Sorry?
She should be able to speak. She's unmuted.
Yeah, Lena, can you go ahead? All right, while we're trying to figure that out.
Ronnie, I would like to add one thing, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. We're talking about the recruitment, and while we look at the senior position, intermediate, and junior, there are also like the internship program that we do. Okay, and that's very important, because we show the interns, which are not yet graduated, we show them the environment, we show them the culture, we show them ways of working, and they're not always used to them, and like that they are attracted by different ideas, and they execute their project in a different manner too.
Okay, Lena, there you are.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. It took a minute. Yes, thank you for bringing this up, Ronnie. I think for us at Speedlane, first of all, is a digital product agency based in New York City. But as everyone else on the call, we have a lot of our talent based in Lebanon, and we're very proud of that. What we do to try to find talent, it's a bit tricky for us, because what we look for is a certain level of talent. So it's really engineers mostly who are mid-level and up, which is becoming very scarce in Lebanon, because most of them are trying to leave the country, and we can't seem to find as many as we want. What we do is normally, like Kara had talked about, some nurturing inside the company, like try to upskill them and give them professional development and all of that. But we also came up with an initiative, and that's in partnership with Life Lebanon and Forward MENA, that is called UnRamp. And it's an initiative that is a retraining initiative, basically, that readies talent in Lebanon to take on remote work jobs around the world. So basically, in 3 or 4 months, a vetted candidate is trained up to work in several jobs that leverage the knowledge and the skills that they already have, such as engineering and many other different skills. And we think that this initiative is going to help fill up the capacity that we are looking for. And this is a shout out to everybody on the call. Whoever thinks there's a particular need in the market, to let UnRamp know about it, because it's a non-demand based training bootcamp and initiative.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That's really fits in right perfectly. We have another question actually from Samia Milham, actually, who works at the World Bank. She talks about what should Lebanese public and private universities do or change to create graduates that are job ready for all the range of jobs that are amenable for outsourcing and offshoring. in order to allow young graduates to stay home, reduce the brain drain? And is there a role for donors like the World Bank and the European Union and others that can support this effort? Does anybody want to tackle that?
I would love to say something here, and my team at my company knows I always like to imagine and dream of, I call it APE University, but it's really, we'll never open a university. There is a need for industry and university collaboration to create and meet the demands of today. Like we heard earlier from my colleagues, that you can't even get a degree right now, right out of college, that can meet the needs, which I just mentioned, power systems and AI and data. So I think that's something I'm sure qualifies for World Bank or other donors to help these some fruitful programs that allow universities and industries to work together to prepare the talent for these jobs. That would be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Carol, I think you want to say something.
I want to comment on this. There are a few points. One is schools like École 42 that do upskilling are very interesting approaches because these are short programs where professionals can come in and upskill, and their approach of peer-to-peer training, etc., is very interesting one. This is one. The second one is that our universities are really good. They produce people who are foundational, who are multidisciplinary, etc. But there's something missing in our universities, and I think that we will need this more and more because engineering is becoming more and more mixed with social sciences, with legal, with ethical, with subject matter expertise, etc. With context understanding, etc. And I think that there is an important dimension to bring into the programs today, which is some kind of soft skills, understanding of context, socioeconomic skills, legal skills, etc. Ethical skills. Do you imagine engineers that don't have ethics, what they're going to do? Now the future of law is going to be in the hand of engineers. The future of finance is going to be in the hand of engineers. The future of medicine is going to be in the hand of engineers. So engineers are going to play a big role in so many sectors, and we're only teaching them hard sciences. So this is really worrying. And I see this with the teams we have. They are hardcore engineers. So now we're trying to increase their proximity with the consultants. Even we're starting to put them on consultancy missions, on field trips, and we discuss and debrief with them so that they get these additional skills. So this is another thought.
I know, Miriam, you've had a lot of experience in this, and I know a lot of universities are starting to actually design some of their programs around projects where students are actually working on them that are real projects so that they actually have real life examples. But do you have any other examples that you could share with us?
Ronnie, I think I would like to go a bit down the university and look at the high school, at the high school level. And I think a good experiment that we had is the career guidance in the high school, both on the private and the public sector. And we believe that there is a big gap here, specifically in the public sector, where students need to be educated about the most in-demand jobs, the most in-demand careers, about the fact that the university or a college degree will not be enough, and about the fact that soft skills are really important. We do a lot of career guidance at that level. However, working with the public sector, working with the Ministry of Education, we have realized that there is a big gap here. And I think donors like the World Bank, I know that they have some small experiments in that area. This is where they can probably fit or help in bridging that gap. Really a big career guidance awareness at the level of the students before they go into colleges and before they go into universities. Now in Lebanon, I would like to highlight the fact, because the person who asked is from the World Bank. In Lebanon, I think the World Bank and some donor organizations like UNICEF and many others are trying as much as possible to fill in that gap in terms of education reform. Probably more initiatives of that sort, and that can be scaled up easily and become more sustainable, would support in that field and in making supporting. I mean, it's a very big area to work on in terms of education reform, but the more you have small projects, and the more of these projects you have, the bigger of an impact you will be able to do. Definitely, I believe career guidance is an area that has to be tackled at a younger age. And I think, for example, it's a bit these digital and technical skills to be taught at a very young age, specifically in the public sector, is definitely an area to be tapped in more and more as we move forward.
I have a couple of very good, interesting questions. And so Michelle Sahyoun is asking, you know, are you dealing, so where did Michelle go? Oh, there you go. Michelle just asked, I currently have a large outsourcing team in India. How would I approach getting a subsidiary and a team in Lebanon? So that's a question, if anybody has advice for him. But a related question might be from Malak Mbashar. How are we dealing with is anybody dealing with cross-border money transfers? I suspect KYC refers to know your customer scrutiny, etc. That's, I guess, a link to the financial sector. I wonder, Naveed, if these are areas that you're working on in money transfers, know your customers, a lot of interest in that, given I know probably the US Treasury is probably helping banks around the Middle East around that.
Yeah. I would like to answer the first part of the question, and that's basically the outsourcing from different hubs as well, like let's say from India versus Lebanon. Carol mentioned it earlier. We can't, I mean, there are 1.5 billion people. Here we are like 5 million. So it's not about the quantity. It's what we need to do is that we need to ensure that we highlight our resources and put them in key position and drive new technologies. This is what we need to do. Now, to go back to the question, it's about finance and all and the aspect. Probably the question was about more security. And all that, the way we do is that we have financial companies, all the security is being dealt from outside Lebanon. You know, we don't store programs here. We don't store stuff here. Everything is outside. Okay.
So that brings up, just for everybody's information. So there was a question earlier about data security and how each of you, because there's concern about that. And so I think I think one of your answered some of that questions about storing the data overseas in clouds, whether you're in the United States or other places, so that it is not able to do it. Carol, I think under Core B, do you deal with financial transactions and money transfers and know your customer issues, or is that not?
Core B developed technology for fintechs in the GCC currently. So we basically just develop technology. And CME, we've been developing for big US clients, including PayPal, and writing code and getting invoices and transfers done between us and these companies has never been an issue, as long as we're having a normal business relationship. So we've never had any issue in this regard.
Yeah. There's an interesting question from an anonymous person about hiring foreign contractors can be a challenge to some companies, because that means that the government of that company will lose income tax, and this affects the competitiveness of the bids of these companies. How do you provide an incentive to these companies, especially that Lebanon doesn't have a tax treaty with those countries, like, say, in the US? Anybody dealt with that? Maybe Hala, do you have any insight about that? Is that something that you've dealt with?
So I'm trying to wrap my arms around the question. Is competitiveness of, can you repeat that? What are we dealing with?
So you're a US-based company.
Correct.
And if you hire what they call a foreign contractor, so in this case, it's not really a foreign contractor because these are your own employees, but they're based in Lebanon. But if you were to hire a foreign contractor, that means that the US Internal Revenue Service would be losing income tax. And this affects the competitiveness of the bids of those companies.
Ronnie,
Yeah.
maybe I want to make a comment here on the pricing. I think we're not the cheapest, but at the same time, we're not expensive. And we found a level where we're providing services that the client is happy to pay with. They're saving money, but at the same time, they're getting quality. Now, at the end, the taxes have to be paid, and if there are taxes to cover, you have to take this into account in your transaction. So you have to build a model in a way that you don't have, to pay several taxes. That's one of the issues we have. If you have one entity here, you have one entity in Paris, you want to make sure you don't pay tax here and then pay tax in Paris. If you have an offshore here, you don't pay taxes. If you have another branch in Paris, you're going to pay the taxes. So if you two entities collaborate, so that there's a whole fiscal game between different entities to make sure that you don't, as a service provider, you don't have to pay too much taxes so that you don't increase the bill on the client. But then the client have to pay their taxes, and you have to make the offer in a way that when they make their calculation, they find that the balance between price and quality is in their favor.
So I agree, and also I want to say that we did hire initially when we were a few people. It was contract based. We have also contractors. We had in Panama. We had in Canada, like different places. And maybe if I understand the question correctly, there's different competitiveness. Places have tax treaties, others don't, right? But the essence is it's the mix of what you need, and yes, that nuance doesn't make it or break it. Maybe that's the answer that I want to have here. It does not stand in the way of hiring contractors in Lebanon if they have the skill set that you need.
So I guess part of it is a question of branding, in a sense that you need to figure out. I mean, this was a bigger conversation about branding in terms of it's not just the cheapest, but it's quality. And how do you kind of brand that?
Look, in our business model, with the US, we have the branch in the US where we have some senior engineers, and the branch in Lebanon where we have some engineers. And we're paying taxes in both countries. And usually a good portion of the contract is implemented in the US. And even with this model, spreading our costs between the US and Lebanon and paying the taxes on both sides and the high taxes on the US side, we're finding a way to be competitive and cost effective.
So I wondered if there was a role, say, for Live to help support the branding issue, and maybe this is something that we can think about. I wanted to. So there was a question. Actually, we're going back to this question that Malik, asked about how do you actually pay your employees, given the difficulty with the banking system, but also, how do you send money without a proper banking transfer system? In some countries, he's calling degrade the Lebanese banking account. So is anybody dealing with this issue in terms of banks?
From our side, we've always paid in transfers. We never moved to cash, never, ever, even during the crisis, always in dollars, in transfer. The only thing we've been doing is, before we do the transfer, we make sure that the bank is open the next day for the staff to go and collect their cash. That's it. You call the bank, you say, I'm sending the transfer tomorrow. The bank is open and you're gonna give the paycheck for everyone, otherwise I don't transfer. So they let you transfer. But we never had to stop.
I second that motion. Definitely, this is what we're doing as well. It's basically there's some micromanagement that need to be done with the banking, some back and forth that we never saw that like when we were in Canada. But that's fine. It's part of the game. But at the same time, we need to ensure that if and when we transfer the money, the employee has access to it, and it's always about transfer. That is how we work.
And you have to do it properly and the standard way. Yes, I agree with the team here. You just work through the life logistics with your employees on it, but you just do it the same way you do it in any other country.
Yeah. There's an interesting question from an anonymous attendee. How much are you focusing on equity and implementing your programs and increasing employment and utilization and upskilling of Lebanese talent? We all know there's a vast gap in social classes in Lebanon. Often social networks play a huge role in one getting a job, not only Lebanon, but in the rest of the world. How do you make sure you're not increasing these social gaps rather than providing equitable and equal opportunities to different individuals in Lebanon? It's a great question.
It is. It is. You know, I think for our firm, you know, we don't discriminate in any way in equity, but I do sometimes worry that where our job offerings and our offshoring in Lebanon is based on people who at least can afford the time or the resources to get a college degree. And I hope we can go beyond that. I am so open to anything, even, you know, going to people who don't have the resources. Maybe we can make that possible for them. Goes back to Miriam and Miriam's and other discussions of going to high schools in different remote areas and allowing these people. So if we can do anything to bring people who can't afford to be at the university at the program where we go and find them, I think we need to do more about that for sure.
I know, Nabil, I mean, because we're just talking about referral system, and often it's kind of a perpetuating perhaps the same networks of people that people know. I'm just wondering if you've thought about you thought about this and if you have a strategy on how to deal with it.
Actually, this is what we're implementing. Okay, is that we're in touch with almost all universities. I'm not gonna say all, but almost all universities. And based on the requirement that come in, we can, well, wouldn't say easily manage, but we do manage in getting the proper resource to fill in the requirement that we have. And sometimes the requirement are very high, and sometimes the requirement are a bit different. And we fit in the resources accordingly. But what's important here is that we also provide them with the flexibility to work either from the office or work from home. And if somebody lives like up north or up in the south, then we don't force them to come to the office on a daily basis. We make sure that there is a way for everybody to benefit from the culture and organization that we're building him, regardless of living in Beirut or outside Beirut. So we do accommodate that. And you know, like transportation in Lebanon is not that easy. So we want to make sure that this is covered. Okay, and we give a small bonus. Everybody gets transportation regardless if they're working in the office or not.
I wanted to ask if, you know, how you're dealing with, I mean, just when you talk about the challenges a little bit, I mean, there is electricity challenges. There's the internet that's challenging. There's a potential war that might happen. People, even if the situation is okay, but they might not even be able to get to work. I wonder what contingencies you've all done or planned around, you know, supporting your employees to be able to work from home, and, you know, and not everybody might have access to electricity. So that's one question. And a related question, if somebody might choose which one to answer. What contingencies do you have if there is the possibility that Lebanon gets gray listed by the US Treasury and imposes certain sanctions on banks and transfers? And have you thought about that? So if anybody wants to pick which one they want to answer, I'll start with Miriam. I mean, if Miriam has any thoughts, given, you know, maybe you have a macro view of how this is happening, how people are managing. Yes, the first question.
I haven't given a lot of thought on the second one, but I'll start with the first question. And I would like to also just add a little bit to the question that was raised by the anonymous attendee, which is very interesting. I think because most of the projects that we as upskilling organization run are mostly funded by donors, this idea of equity is very important, and we try as much as possible to have this really built in all the programs. There's one thing that I really need to go back to, is that Lebanon as an outsourcing hub doesn't mean that we are only going to be upskilling those that are the top tier students. There's a lot of need to upskill people with very basic digital skills. As a matter of fact, we're just running a program for Microsoft Office beginner, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, so that people can do some data entry job, because there is a company that is being outsourcing for that particular job. So the fact that we are capable of really doing training on different levels is in a way or another helping us embrace that equity and upskilling people from different backgrounds, specifically those coming from vulnerable backgrounds. Now, some of the contingency plan that we always have, and we always try as much as possible to really pay for people all the transportation fees, all the internet expenses for those people who are not capable of having internet on their own, or having or transporting, being able to come to Beirut or to other hubs that are in different areas in Lebanon, because even outside Beirut in the north, or in some areas, there are some hubs where people can come, make use of the internet, work, and we try as much as possible to have payments for these particular people to be able to benefit from these services, just in case they cannot have access to electricity or to internet. Now, if everything goes into the very war zone and gray area, I honestly haven't given a lot of thought on that. But I think taking into consideration all our history of surviving some very hard crises that no other country has been able to survive and persevere, I think we can work together on really being able to find alternatives and move on. And I think this is the main reason of why the Lebanese talent is needed. It's not because they are less expensive at all. It's because of the ability to find solutions and move on forward.
We only have a few more minutes. I just wondered if you could maybe, Carol, I think you wanted to say something just quickly on this issue of contingency plans and how you support your staff who might not be able to join to work.
People do work from home, but I just wanted to say we went through this in 2006 when Israel invaded Lebanon. On Thursday, the invasion has started, and you were monitoring. On Friday, everybody came to work. Friday, 3 p.m., we call for a meeting. We ask people at 5 when they leave to carry their PCs. We had PCs at the time, no laptops, to carry their PCs and their screens and their UPS with them to home. Friday, everybody leaves carrying their PCs to their home. And then Saturday, Sunday is the weekend. Sunday afternoon, we text everyone, tell them to come to Amshit, where one of the partners has a lycée. We took the kindergarten and turned it into a big operation room. We asked everybody to move to Amshit, to settle in Amshit. We had booked rooms for them in the hotels in the neighborhood, and we were up and running in Monday. So we didn't go down one day. And the clients in the US started to panic. How can we work with a country at war? So I went around and started to take pictures of people in the beach and of people in the street and sending them to them, tell them there are two Lebanons, you don't understand, we are on the right side of the equation, everything is functioning. And you know, every weekend, people had to go back to their family, and the bombing started to be very violent. And I was like a mom with 80 kids going back to their home over the weekend, you know, so calling them to see if they arrived and calling them when they leave, when they come back. So when there's a war, there's a war. You have to mobilize, you have to find solutions, but there are solutions. We don't give up, we keep running, we keep operating. And if the US Treasury takes a measure that it's even makes things harder to us, we'll implant some of our people in the neighborhood countries who will relay the operation and will continue to operate. And by the way, 2006 is when we went out of Lebanon, opened in China and India and Argentina. So the crisis turned out a great opportunity for us to get a good lesson to go out and expand.
Yeah.
Ronnie, if I may,
Yes,
just a quick
please.
one. As you mentioned earlier, I lived in Canada for 37 years. So in Lebanon, yeah, we have challenges with electricity, but you know what? We have 5 or 6 ways of having electricity. In Canada, we lived when it was minus 40 degrees without electricity because they only had one way of giving you electricity. That's one. Second, we were talking about war. Let's talk about tornadoes. Where is Hala? Let's talk about tornadoes. Let's talk about hurricane. Trust me, earthquake, God forbid. Okay, there are different countries, different challenges. Here we call it war, that's fine. But in all of them, we have contingency plan. And this is the Lebanese spirit, my friend.
I love, Nabil, what you said. I want to echo everything everybody said. And I've been doing this in 1990, and I'm still offshoring. That is a testament in Lebanon. That's a testament that, everything has a solution, and the problems we are facing or worried about in Lebanon are elsewhere. Actually, I have software teams in Ukraine right now. Right? They're working, they found places to work, they continued, when the war started, we were disrupted for maybe 2 or 3 days, and that's it. So no worries at all.
I need to wrap it up. We have just 2 more minutes, but I just wanted to mention Gabriel's point where he said with so many expats visiting Lebanon during the summer, it'd be great if we have outsourcing seminars or campaigns set up on a regular basis. Might be a great opportunity to engage youth with more career options. And Marlene Daher says that her foundation, the Michel Daher Foundation, would be grateful if you can send contact information. So we'll make sure we get to that. I just wanted to wrap up and just say to conclude, first of all, let me thank Janina EE from LebNet and her able team for helping put this webinar together. Took a lot of work and a lot of thinking to put it together. And so I'm really grateful for LebNet and this partnership. I also want to thank Reem Kaptan of Life. I do what I do because Reem and many others do a lot of work behind the scenes. So I'm really grateful to them and all the Life team for this. Finally, I want to thank each of every one of you for the panelists, for your valuable time, your extraordinary insights, for painting a really promising future in the face of many, many challenges. And it really is inspiring us to think about how we can really support, and we will be calling on you to help us with this. And finally, thank you for the participants for listening, asking great questions, and for your support. We look forward to more future ideas, and let us know how we can support you in your work. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to more conversations in the future.
Thanks, Ronnie.
I think we ended just on time.
Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. That was great.